Hello again. Welcome back to Elvis Fans Matter.
Right.
Billy Smith.
Joe Smith. Oh, golly, we're gonna bring up a few old stories that
War stories.
war stories. Yeah. This one here, I just at the last. I know about the last, I would say, 2-3 months of Elvis's life. We were in Lisa's room and we were talking about all kinds of different things, and got around to talking about when Elvis met Priscilla and things, naturally, everything that happened. I know that a lot of times that the people have asked it, and so I'm going to try to give you an answer to some of the things that went on. Elvis and, of course, Priscilla and Elvis, when they first got married and all, they were a happy couple, and everything, seemed to be going well for them. Naturally, they had their disagreements at times, but what couple didn't, I think they got along fairly well, but, Elvis, being Elvis, I've always said, he was just never faithful to any one woman at any given time. And we were talking about, different things like that, and it was brought up, he said, that him and Priscilla, they raised Lisa together, and she would come and spend time with him. He said, but, they, too, he said, that Priscilla, she was doing her thing and he was doing his. And what he kind of meant by that is the fact that, where they don't get back together. And he said, look, he said, I just don't ever foresee us getting together. Because I had asked him, I said, you think y'all? He said, no, he said there was, way too many bridges being burned behind them, and he said, I'll never go down that road again. He said, I enjoyed our marriage for a short time. He said, but then, it got where, when I was performing in Vegas, that we were not together a lot of times, and, he said, she found out I was seeing other women. I found out she was seeing another guy, and he said, gosh, it just, it broke my heart, and he said, that I actually wanted him, I wanted him killed. He said, it had crossed my mind, but he said, I later realized it was all my pride and my ego, that was wanting him killed. And I'm thinking to myself, golly, he's opened up about this like he never has before.
Yeah.
And so, I'd asked him different questions, He said, I said, well, do you still love Priscilla? He said, yeah. He said, like a lot of the women I went with, he said, I love them. He said, I love Priscilla. Always will in a lot of ways. He said, we got a daughter together, and he said, but as far as ever getting back together, he said, that'll never happen. He said, I just don't, he said, I don't think I can live with that. And that's what he mean. He said, well, you know, knowing that she was seeing another guy and has been with other guys, he said, you know, he said, and I'm sure she thinks the same thing about me, you know, being with other women. He said, and I said, well, Elvis, I said, you know, I said, what about Ginger? What, you know, what about her? And he said, well, he said, you know, he said, I love Ginger. He said, you know, he said, I love her and want to be with her. He said, and I don't know. He said, you know, maybe in time. He said, but not right now. He said, I just, you know, as long as my career is going like it is and, you know, and all, he said, as far as I'm concerned, you know, that's plenty of time for that. He said, I'm not going to say it won't happen. He said, but I don't see it happening any time soon. He said, because, you know, he said, too many things and too many people count on me. And he said, you know, he said, but, you know, he said, I don't know. He said, I just really don't know. He said, you know, I've thought about it. He said, but, you know, he said, one day, maybe so. He said, you know, he said, I'm getting older, and he said, you know, and would like to slow down on some of my tours. He said, you know, he said, but he said, you know, I have a lot of obligations. I said, yeah, but, you know, you can eliminate a lot of those obligations if you wanted to and just, you know, cut back on things that you're doing if you wanted to. He said, well, he said, you know, it said, overall, it's not too bad. He said, you know, he said, I enjoy my concerts, I always will. He said, that's when I'm the happiest. And he said, so, you know, he said, marriage the first time, he said, you know, interfered with a lot of my, you know, concerts and stuff like that. He said, you know, because I, you know, felt like, you know, I was kind of portraying Priscilla a lot of times with other women, and he said, I do with Ginger. He said, you know, he said, you know, as long as I'm doing my concerts and my career is going, you know, like it is, he said, you know, he said, I think I'll just hang out with that and not, you know, not worry about that too much.
Like he said, you know, like he said, the song goes, I'm not the marrying kind.
Yeah.
It just,
But that's, like I say, now that was Elvis and me talking, you know, kind of privately, and it was, but, you know, I think he did consider, you know, marriage. I think he was considering it again. I just don't think he was considering it any time, you know, in the near future for him. Like I say, he he was just not being faithful to Ginger, and I hate to say that, you know, because I know it must hurt her, you know. And I don't mean to do that. I'm just saying how Elvis was. He was that way. He loved women, and he loved his career more. About the best I can say.
it's like he said though. I shouldn't be married. You know,
Yeah.
I should have never ever really been married.
Yeah.
And like he said, you know, I don't think I'll ever go down that road again. So, you know, and Charlie had said that he told him that he would never get married again.
Yeah.
So,
but you know,
basically what he told to us.
yeah. But I, you know, like I say too, a lot of times I think he considered it, and you know, I'm sure that he wanted somebody, you know, with him.
I think he probably
time.
Considered it was like, I mean,
What he did with the several of them, yeah, I understand.
I think the thought entered his mind on several that he was very close to, like you said, Anita, and like with Linda. I mean, you know, my gosh, he was crazy about Linda, crazy about Anita, crazy about Priscilla.
I mean, Barbara Hearn.
Barbara Hearn.
A lot of them, he cared about. And,
I can remember when he dated Bonnie Bunkley.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was during the time he was seeing Anita.
Right. So, I mean, he got it in his mind, and he would see some of the guys around him, and he also saw the holdback.
Yeah.
The I don't know.
Very true.
And it was hard. He saw how hard it was for some of the guys that were married with kids, and Elvis was very tender-hearted, and he didn't want the back. He didn't want the. I don't know what I'm trying. You know what I mean? He didn't want something that he didn't have to do.
Yeah.
He just wanted to be,
Yeah, it's hard to put into words.
It's hard to put into words, but wasn't that he didn't love them. He, like he said, I've loved a lot of women, and he did. And I really and truly and honestly think he did. He loved all of them. He loved them.
He did.
If Elvis loved you, he loved you. He didn't not ever love you. He just. That's why I think a lot of times, like you were saying, he would have. He wouldn't just say goodbye to them. He would just kind of fade out and not like with Anne Margaret. I know he was crazy about Anne Margaret, but he would just kind of slowly just.
Fade away from
it was easier for him
as
that way.
Easiest in the best way he could.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just. I would just thinking about
reminiscing
reminiscing, thinking about stuff like that, and then seeing married couples and and kids and all, and I'm sure he thought about it, and like I say, but that was Elvis. He just.
Elvis was like a kid himself to me. He wanted to do what he wanted to do.
Yep.
Always.
Well, I mean, gosh, he come up so quick. Fame and all that.
Yeah.
And golly, I guess in a way, he was kind of self-centered.
He was.
But he did care about other people's feelings, and like.
He did.
Like he would, if it's something was bothering one of the guys or anything like that, he always had time to listen and
try to fix it.
Try to fix it if he could, But
he was really good to the people that worked for him.
Yeah.
And that that were with him. He was good. He cared about what they were going through.
Yeah.
And he always made a big deal out of it. Just.
But that kind of speaks for itself. It's all same routine that with women that was ever since he became famous, and oh golly, he just had to take it in stride, and he weighed the pros and the cons, with his career. And at the time, he started all that, his mom and daddy, and that's basically the biggest thing that he wanted was to take care of them. That was first and foremost, with Elvis, and that's where he was, But anyway, so much for that. And
Billy always had a lot of personal conversations, and a lot of times when we'd be up in his room with him, or just. Sometimes on the plane, we would be in his room with him, and he
well, all the
he
time,
would open up.
A lot of times,
not all,
he'd get me to spend the night with him in his room, or we would be in a conversation, private conversation, and talk about different things. And
I think he felt like with you it was a connection like to his mother, because you were close to his mother and his daddy too, and your family and his family were close and grew. He saw you grow up, and he just
too, and I always had this thing, it was hard for him, and of course we talked about that too, and I may get into that a little later on. There's certain things that I know about Elvis and all that
Nobody else.
I just will not reveal,
Yeah.
because it's
There's no
that's
need
me,
to.
there's no need to, right?
No.
But he he didn't want you to ever think family, friends, or whatever. He did think that you couldn't be replaced, or if if he told you stuff and all that, or showed you too many different things, that you would take advantage of him.
Yeah.
He hated that. If somebody took advantage of him,
He did not confide in a lot of people.
Right.
He just he didn't.
But that was the way he was, as far as personal conversations and all. He had personal conversations with guys. I guess I would say all the guys that worked for him, but that's he like I say, Elvis did not like the fact. I don't care who you were, if you were family or friend or whatever, you didn't lie to him about something, or steal from him, or
He had to know he could fully trust you
Otherwise,
before he
you just wasn't
accepted
there.
you.
You wasn't gonna be there.
And he tested.
He did.
He tested you
Yeah.
too. He tested people. He did little things to see what they would do, and
Yeah.
found out a lot like that.
Yeah.
So
But anyway,
that was just Elvis.
That was just Elvis. That was the story there, that I thought I'd share with y'all, and golly, just wanted to say that we've enjoyed this, and
Enjoyed
just
getting
like
back
all
to the
stories
stories.
we've gotten back to them, and and hope we can continue for a while, and just letting you know some of the personal life stories,
Yeah.
that means a lot to me and Joe and all that. But anyway, let's wind this little segment up, and just remember what we always say.
Elvis
Fans Matter.
Matter. We don't always.
We don't always get it right. I've said it for years. And we
Elvis
always
fans
love
matter.
Elvis, but Elvis fans matter.
Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Thanks for watching.